Have you played this course?
Now, is the river flooded? The Blanco's flooded.
No, Frio did not get as much rain. There's a little bit of flow. Like yesterday was the first day to kind of float without too much walking, but really good spots to just sit in cold water and drink cold beverages. So we're having a good time with the exception of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Hmm.
I mean, they cannot close out a game, can they?
It's partially on them, but it's partially on the Pacers being very battle tested and having done this in every round up to this point now. They're just the wrong team to go up against a young Thunder team that doesn't have experience in this sort of situation, even though they've obviously been historic in terms of their performance up to this point.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you get somebody coming off the bench dropping 29 points, shooting 75% from the field. But that's, it's been something every game. The Pacers have done something right every game so far.
Yeah.
And you gotta tip your hat and see how the Thunder can battle this learning experience.
No doubt. All right. Getting going here on another Thursday Supper Club now. Little pre-show chatter on the NBA Finals. And I'm going to start this week, guys, with this question because last week we made our predictions on how we thought the series would go, but here we are. Pacers now up 2-1 after another win last night. Matthew, I believe you had a Thunder in 5 and Thunder in 6 bet. Brian, I think you went Thunder in 5 last week. You were feeling sweet, but you were willing to give the Pacers one game. What is your current prediction for the rest of the NBA Finals? Matthew?
Also bet 3 weeks ago Pacers to win it all, so I'm in pretty good shape.
Oh, perfect. You've hedged exactly like you needed to.
I wouldn't bet this series. The fact of the matter is Oklahoma City has to win either game 4 or game 6 in Indiana to win the title at this point. And I don't know with their performance on the road and with how crazy that Indiana crowd is, if they can do it. I mean, I think the problem with the fact the Thunder really haven't had any problems all year, but they are pretty one-man offense or kind of a two-man offense, but those two men don't really flow off of each other. It's kind of a your turn, my turn kind of deal. And so when the Thunder, get stuck and Shea's only scoring 24, they can get in some trouble. So it seems like if they can get out to a 16 or better point lead, they can win the game, but they could just never pull away last night. So I don't know. It's scary to bet against Indiana at this point. I thought they were the JV version of the Thunder, and maybe they still will be. Maybe it'll be over in 6, but it's a great finals matchup.
It's funny you bring up the JV comp, I guess, or the JV analogy, because if they have one thing on the Thunder right now, it is that they have a little bit more age and experience just in terms of just how veteran that lineup is versus a younger Thunder roster that everybody assumes is about to be dominant for the next half decade plus. All right, Stubbs, how about for you now? You've watched your team be in pretty good position in all 3 games that only have one win to show for it now. What is your prediction the rest of the way?
I think the Thunder adjust. They adjusted after game 1. They brought in, they played a little bit bigger. Obviously, I think that they've got to adjust now to, they got to figure out a way to win in Indiana. I think they do that. I think we go back to OKC tied up 2-2. I think this thing's going 7. And it's going to be, I think it'll be a great game 7. I think it'll be a heavyweight battle in OKC for the title, and we're either going to get our hearts stomped on or we're going to pull it out. So I like Thunder in 7 at this point. Gonna trust coaches, gonna trust adjustments.
SGA hasn't been bad in this series, but he hasn't necessarily been the league MVP in this series either. Does he need to be a little bit better for the Thunder to ultimately pull it out?
I think what Matthew said is accurate. I think that he needs to he needs within the offense. I think he needs to be less one man and more. I think that they've got to run. I think everybody's got to touch the ball more, and you've got to let Jalen or Wiggins or whoever make their shots when they're there, as opposed to this, the setup, pick and roll, handoff, SGA go. We were bringing doubles last night. It was throwing him off. Everybody wants to call him a foul merchant. It's like he does initiate contact. They're not calling it. It's like you've got to adjust to the fact that it's like, hey, they're going to, I kind of saw it coming when Carlisle said, in his game two presser post game, he was like, oh, well, SGA is going to get his 34. And I was like, just a nice little bait there. Cause it's like, no, they know that if they can hold him to 24, that, they're going to be in that game. And so, I think it was a little bit of Indiana's done everything right so far. They've matched up well. They've had different players step up and make plays, and OKC needs to do the same. We need, Dort's got to hit threes. Jalen's got to score. He's got to have a 30-point game in here somewhere. I think that they've just got to play more team basketball than they have been.
Yeah, you got guys like Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell chipping in huge ways. And even like a Miles Turner, of course, Texas X. He wasn't having a great game last night. He made some huge defensive plays down the stretch for this Pacers team, Matthew.
Yeah, he really did. He got some nice blocks and protected the rim. I thought he played terrible early in the game, and I don't think he can stay with Chet. Inside or outside. So I thought he was going to be one of the people to blame for the loss. But he stepped up and got it done in the second half, which I was happy to see. He was endured a lot of trade rumors and has been with the Pacers for almost a decade now. Which is probably going to be one of the longer tenures in the NBA. So, yeah, he stepped up big. They're a great team. They complement each other. And, yeah, having McConnell come off the bench and intercept inbound passes and convert them into layups and get the fans fired up, and his dad, who looks like he's just crushing gin on the sideline, fired up. It was a vibe.
All right, so
can y'all explain the T-shirt to me?
No.
I didn't get the T-shirt.
It's almost as dumb as stuff they do in Oklahoma. What does it say? Yes, we are. Yes, it is Indiana.
But this is Indiana.
But this is Indiana. Maybe it's like, yes, you're an amazing team, and yes, this seems foretold, and yes, we are the biggest underdog in history, but this is Indiana.
I think it's trying to...
I think it's never underestimate the heart of a champion to some degree, but not as clearly stated. Maybe they think more people know something about Indiana than we actually do. Nobody knows anything about you, Indiana. And I have to be a little more literal.
Well, I think it's a passive reference to what Indiana means to basketball too. Like there's all these subtle references, but Indiana is also Indiana. They are the Midwest whipping boy in a lot of ways. Like having lived in Chicago, drink up for nearly 7 years, you would think that Chicago and Illinois would be taking more pot shots at like Wisconsin or Iowa or Michigan, maybe. No, Chicago and Illinois had a lot of animosity for Indiana, and I never understood why. But I think Indiana has been on the receiving end of a lot of criticism and trash talk over time from their Midwestern brethren. So they feel like this is a moment for them. And in a lot of ways it is, too, because their basketball team is representative of the sort of dog mentality that I think that it takes to get ahead, knowing that you are from Indiana.
I think you're right about This is Indiana. I think it's the basketball equivalent of the English chanting "It's coming home" because like Indiana they think is the home of basketball and it just means more in Indiana. Of course, when England sings "It's coming home," England's not known for winning the World Cup, or any international championships. So, but this is Indiana just doesn't resonate quite as much because Indiana's never won anything. But I think you're right. I think that's what it means. But this is Indiana, but it means more here. But this is this is the heart of basketball. But this isn't a move. This isn't Hoosiers.
Well, I'm just going to give them credit for spelling all the words correctly on the T-shirt, Brian.
You talking about Oklahoma City now?
Well, I was talking about Indiana, but I guess Oklahoma City too. I'm just happy with the spelling in this series, guys.
Yeah, spelling's important. It's a dying art, and so it's good to know that the spell check was working on everybody's T-shirts. As Matthew said before the series started, this is a everybody goes to the game and wears a T-shirt series. There's no, other than Reggie Miller and his son wearing a shirt of his dad, there aren't a lot of celebrities sitting courtside with their whole fit. It's just normal everyday Americans trying to have fun. We know that Matthew doesn't like everyday Americans, so I get why he makes fun of them.
Indiana has the sixth highest literacy rate in the country. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Hold on, we'll get to Oklahoma. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 1, 2. Whoa, we should just started at the bottom.
Yes.
46 for Oklahoma. So I don't think Oklahomans can't make any literacy jokes.
Where's Texas?
Higher than that. New Mexico is last, interestingly. But Texas, I don't see on Texas is a little more middle of the pack than you would think there. Where's Texas? Texas is sandwiched. Ooh, okay. Texas is sandwiched between Oregon and Delaware, but ahead of Kansas and Maine. Maine, a secret big time redneck state. A lot of people don't know that because of Kenny Bunkport and how beautiful the coast is. But you get into inland Maine, it gets weird.
No, I went up there a couple summers ago and I felt right at home. I was like, wow. I was like, now I get it. I was like, these are Red Sox fans, and Red Sox fans are the rednecks of the Northeast, and that's why they hate the Yankees. Red Sox are very similar to the Sooners, while the Yankees are very similar to Texas. Actually, with Texas baseball has tradition. Texas football is trying to get caught up, but at this point, I'm not even worried. I mean, I don't even know if anybody should be playing football next year because apparently Arch Manning has been in the lab and he's going to be the greatest college quarterback of all time. I'm honestly thinking the Venables and the boys maybe just go get a corn dog and a wax cup beer and not even play the game because Arch is really, really apparently he's in a different stratosphere at this point, and I can't wait to watch him, just dominate college football.
I guess we'll know a lot more by 2 p.m. on the 30th or whenever, since they released some more times for the Longhorns schedule in 2025.
Yeah, I love all these flex schedule games that exist now. It's like, did we really need to say this, or could we have just waited until there was more certainty there? By the way, speaking of states that people may not realize are as redneck as they are or have as much of a redneck element, you mentioned that Texas is right next to Oregon. Having lived in Oregon for about a year and a half, Oregon has a shocking redneck presence. It's a bunch of gun-toting hippies in Oregon. It's a walking contradiction in a lot of ways. And I know people see Portland and they compare that to Austin. There are some comparisons there, but most of Oregon, they are isolationists. They moved out to Oregon many years ago for a reason, and that mindset still exists all these years later.
Yeah, there's some militia presence up there.
KKK presence up until recently too.
Yikes!
Yeah. While we're talking about states, I'd be remiss if I didn't send out a rest in peace to one of the greatest Oklahomans of all time, Gary England, passed away at 84. He was the meteorologist at Channel 9, and he got many Oklahomans through many tornadoes, and he's a cultural icon in the state, because when you're watching a finals game and a tornado comes in, you cut away. Every television station cuts to tornado coverage. So we spent more. I mean, I think it's kind of like, the OJ car chase during the World Series. I can't tell you how many sporting events were interrupted with Gary England then going and telling everybody in Altus to take shelter. He did a wonderful job, and he was a great person, and he did a lot of. He's revered in Oklahoma. So if the Thunder do come back to win this series, I hope they do it in Gary's honor and memory.
Matthew, Oklahoma, that you would be famous for weather and for your weatherman. I mean, that says about, rest in peace, Gary England, but that says about all you need to know about Oklahoma. That one of their biggest celebrity exports is their weather.
Well, and also just a quick correction there. The OJ car chase happened during the 1994 NBA Finals between the Rockets and
thank you.
Knicks. But
we did not cut away in Houston. We went split screen, which was aggravating enough for Rockets fans.
Yeah, and I feel like the smaller screen was the OJ chase, because that same thing was in Dallas also, where we still got a decent chunk of the game, even though the OJ car chase was in the bottom left corner, whichever one it was. All right, so
how'd that series end? Rockets in 6?
Rockets
in 7.
Yeah.
Rockets in 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So Olajuwon with a tipped 3-pointer, blocked shot to win Game 6, down 3-2 at home to send it to Game 7, which we handled mightily, as John Starks went, 2 for 13.
One of the streakiest players of that era. So for people who are either listening on the radio show right now or watching on the YouTube feed, they can tell that we are in 3 different places right now, and that is the result in parts of Brian being on vacation with his family, but also having making the sacrifice to be on the Thursday Supper Club this week to talk some Thunder basketball and more. So where are you broadcasting from this week, Brian?
Yeah, we are in Concan, Texas, home of Garner State Park and the Frio River. Like I said earlier in the show, the river is low. The flow rate is not ideal for a full-on float trip. But the thing about the Frio is it's always got water and it's always cold. So we're having a good time here. We've got a little Airbnb with a couple other families on the 18th hole of Frio Valley Ranch, which is the golf course here, which is a fantastic golf course, very difficult, beautiful vistas in the valley with always some sort of conditions, wind, a little bit of rain. And yeah, it's actually the owner, Stacy Young, I believe Matthew says he's a friend. I haven't actually confirmed this with Stacy yet, but it's a great place. Played this course a couple times. Played it on Tuesday, and had a really good time out here. It is it's so nice out here. It's definitely it's probably pulls more from San Antonio than it does Austin, but it's not quite as riff-raffy as the Comal or the Guadalupe can be, especially on midday.
What a snob!
Or midweek.
Fired. Pardon my ignorance. Pardon my ignorance here, but where exactly in the state are you? I have no idea where or what the Frio is.
25 miles north of Matthew McConaughey's hometown of Uvalde, Texas.
Uvalde, Texas. That's right.
Okay.
If you need to restock, you go to Uvalde to get to the HEB there. There's no HEB in Concan, so that lets you know its relative size, right? Because HEB isn't going to not be somewhere that they can make money. So, no, it's gorgeous out here. It's kind of in between Leakey and Uvalde, and it's northwest of San Antonio, and then southwest of Austin. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive. So it definitely feels like you're out of town. But it's a drive you can get done in a day, and they've got some great places out here. They've got some great houses to stay in, and yeah, it's just a good vibe out here. We're having a good time this week.
So you're driving past Kerrville on I-10 then?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. You can either take 35 through San Antonio and come up, or you can go through Kerrville.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of good people out here. I felt right at home. I pulled into the parking lot of the golf course, and every car in the parking lot was a truck. I was in my truck, so I felt like I belonged. I wasn't going to get kicked out, at least for my car. I could get kicked out for other reasons, but
Well, driving in a truck in Austin can be a little bit daunting. You've had your truck now for what, a couple months?
yeah.
Have you made the adjustment yet? Because that's a pretty big adjustment going from driving a smaller vehicle to all of a sudden having to fit your truck into parking spots and whatnot.
Driving a Volvo, let's be clear.
True. Thank you.
I mean, it's beautiful now, because now when I cut off Volvos, I don't even see them, and so it's I feel great. I think that Evil Mopac would totally be okay with the way I'm driving and not signaling on Mopac. Backing in to parking spaces is really what it's about. With a truck, it's always but yeah, no, it feels great. That these new trucks, man. I mean, you got so many cameras. Like I've got 360 views, so it's a lot of fun to drive, and I don't have to worry about anybody in a smaller car anymore. I can just ignore them, and if they get run off the road, they get run off the road. I feel very Texan.
Yeah, the backup cams have made it next to impossible to be bad at either parallel parking or backing into a parking spot, in my opinion. Yet people are still bad at those things too, even with that advanced technology, Matthew.
Backup cams. Yeah, I got hit by somebody recently backing up, and they told me that their backup cam was broken.
That is not a valid excuse.
No, I was like, well, do you think before 10 years ago, people just constantly backed into each other like bumper cars in parking lots?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like getting lost trying to get someplace, and your excuse is I didn't have my phone with me, so I couldn't look at Google Maps. It's like, well, maybe you need to have a better sense of direction.
I was thinking today I don't know what made me think about it. I was about driving. I used to drive out to college in Washington, D.C. every semester back and forth because I love driving and being on road trips. And that was pre-cell phone and obviously any other kind of major technology. So it was just me and a big collection of CDs or tapes. And I didn't talk to anybody. Maybe I'd call somebody from the hotel when I got to the hotel each night. And that's a lot. Like if you had to drive for 12 hours and weren't able to text anybody or check the internet or check email or look at scores or call anybody while you were driving, seems like it would be torturous. I can't imagine doing that today. But that was just we didn't know any better. We didn't have any other options. We used to just pull our hand in the window and try and get truckers to honk their horns at us. That was our entertainment.
To Washington,
the Atlas generation.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I had a big Atlas, all sorts of maps. I mean, I didn't need it after doing it one time, but yeah, driving through Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia, and the Carolinas, Virginia, great trip.
You drive through some very ugly and very pretty parts of the country to get to Washington, D.C. from here.
Most of the ugly stuff is East Texas and Louisiana. After that, it's all pretty gorgeous, actually. The drive, once you start angling up into the middle of Alabama and northern Georgia, there's a couple different ways you can go, but whether you want to hit Tennessee or western North Carolina, but that's actually some of the most beautiful parts of the world. Besides, once you get east of Houston, it doesn't get pretty again until you head northeast.
Does modern day Matthew Odam with a wife and 2 young kids take long road trips like that anymore?
Yeah, we drove to the second closest Target from our house the other day. No, I mean we're finally at the age where we can, we have a yeah, we're finally at the age where we can drive, 45 minutes without it being a complete terror, nightmare. But it was bad the first year or two of each of the girls' lives, but we've never driven. Yeah, I guess this summer we'll fly to Raleigh, North Carolina, and then we'll drive to the beach, and that's about 2.5 hours. We did that, I think, a year ago, and it took 5 hours. So because of the number of times we had to stop to
Well, I was going to
placate
say
the
that
baby.
the good news is now there's 3 people in the car with diapers on, so they don't have to stop. They can just keep going.
Don't talk about my wife like that.
Talking about you, old man. Talking
Oh, my
about
bad.
you.
Yeah, the AARP sent them to me in the mail when I turned 50. There was
The
a
small,
subscription,
the
a subscription to the
small
magazine, and a box of
depends.
Depends.
What beach? Kitty Hawk, Myrtle Beach? What North Carolina beach are you going to?
We will go to Emerald Isle, which is a little off the beaten path, because it's kind of near family. It is, I mean, I wouldn't call it undiscovered by any means, but it is one of the lesser known island or beaches. It's out on kind of a barrier beach, and it's an island, hence the name Emerald Isle. But it's in between Wilmington and Nag's Head and in the Outer Banks. So it's a couple hours south of the Outer Banks, just south of Cape Lookout. It's not really close to anything, which is great. And there's amazing seafood there. It's kind of one of those places. It feels like it's people from North Carolina go there, but the Airbnbs are on the beach, and there's a great, there's a Publix, and then there's also a bunch of seafood vendors. There's an aquarium nearby to take the kids. There's a putt-putt golf
Oof, yeah,
course.
I was getting concerned. I
That
was
there wasn't
getting
an
concerned
aquarium.
about your summer of scallops getting interrupted.
Oh no, Summer of Scallops will be in good shape.
It's like, where are
All
you going to
right,
get all your sushi and your ceviche?
I'll tell you what. I buy a lot of shrimp when I'm in North Carolina. That's for sure.
Good shrimping spot, huh?
Yeah, North Carolina's some of the best shrimp in the country.
How's the Austin scallop hunt going? As you are currently working on a piece on the best seafood dishes in Austin.
I'm going around to all the seafood restaurants in town. Last night I had some scallops at Salt Trader Coastal Cooking, Jack Gilmore's restaurant. There's a piece in the Austin American Statesman this Sunday on Father's Day. It's online now. You can find it at statesman.com. I did a profile of Jack Gilmore and his son, Bryce Gilmore, Father's Day connected piece. I would venture and did venture to say in the piece that no father and son chef duo has had a bigger impact on the modern Austin dining scene than those two guys. It was fun to sit down with them, and Bryce is not the most press available guy. Doesn't really love talking to the press, I don't think. Doesn't really love talking to people all that much, from what I gather. That's one reason he's a chef, is he likes to be in the kitchen. He said as much during our interview that he was never a front of house guy. He got his start bussing tables and running food at Z Tejas in the Arboretum, which his dad, Jack Gilmore, was the executive chef of in the 90s when Bryce was a student at Westlake High School. Apparently he was quite a good football player and soccer player as well. And Bryce started his career as a busser there. Jack moved up to Austin from Brownsville, Texas in 1979. If you've ever had the barbacoa Benedict at Jack Allen's Kitchen on a weekend, you get some of that South Texas influence from Jack. And then Jack trained under 3 master chefs from Germany at a bakery in Fredericksburg in the mid 80s, which he credits with learning a lot of his skill and trade and his work ethic, which his work ethic was kind of the biggest influence on Bryce, from what Bryce had to say about, following in his dad's footsteps. He said, I didn't necessarily want to be a chef, but I wanted to emulate my father's work ethic. And of course, Bryce eventually got into the kitchen at Z Tejas and helped them open locations across the country before going to culinary school in San Francisco, and then worked at a couple big restaurants in San Francisco, came back to Austin, worked at Wink, worked out at Cafe 909 in Marble Falls, ended up at the Little Nell in Aspen, which is where one of the places he really fell in love with farm to table and seasonal dining and cooking. And after kind of seeing his future from the mountaintop in Aspen, came back to Austin in 2008, and in 2009 opened Odd Duck Farm to Trailer with his brother Dylan. And the rest is history, as they say. You know, he opened Odd Duck in 2009, which is the same year that Aaron Franklin opened Franklin Barbecue in a trailer on I-35. So 2009 was a seminal year for Austin cooking and restaurants in that regard. Bryce would go on to open Barley Swine on Lamar in 2010, and then shortly thereafter, Odd Duck, brick and mortar restaurant on South Lamar. Barley Swine, of course, has moved to Burnett Road, where it's been for about, almost a decade now, which is hard to believe. And Bryce earned a Michelin star for Barley Swine last fall, one of 7 Austin restaurants to get a star, and one of only, I think, 4 fine dining restaurants to get one in Austin. So, you know, Jack had a huge influence in Austin with Z Tejas, and then opening Jack Allen's Kitchen, which he opened Jack Allen's Kitchen within a week of Bryce and Dylan opening Odd Duck, the trailer. So that was a huge year for Austin dining, a huge year for the Gilmore family. I asked Jack, when did you know that Bryce had surpassed you and was a better cook than you? And he said, when he ate his first quail dish at the Odd Duck trailer. And he said, you know, I ate it and knew that these guys were good to go and I could go open my restaurant. And, you know, their 2 paths diverged at that point. And culinary wise and career wise, and but Jack's gone on to open 7 restaurants, I think, 3 or 4 Jack Allen's Kitchens, 2 Salt Traders, Daymaker Half Day Cafe now, off Mopac near Zilker, and Bryce has Barley Swine, Odd Duck, and Sour Duck Market, and also started a farm a couple years ago in Dale, Texas, named after his 2 sons, and they're supplying the majority of produce for Odd Duck and Barley Swine from his own ranch now. So that's kind of become one of his passion projects. So yeah, that's a good story. I had those scallops at Salt Trader yesterday to long-windedly answer your question. But if people want to know more about Jack and Bryce Gilmore, they can check out that story.
My God. Well, they don't even have to read the article. Wow.
What was the question?
Well, I was asking about the scallop hunt, but I'm glad you mentioned Salt Traders, because whenever we go there, and by the way, great spot to take kids too. They offer up the tins of goldfish for the kids, and of course the coloring sheets as well. But whenever I go there, I always get that scallop dish. And it's been a minute, so I don't know if they still serve it with that cauliflower puree. That was a great addition. I think I would usually sub some broccolini in for whatever the other side portion was for those scallops. But I'm glad you're a big fan of those scallops too, because without fail, that's what I get every time I go to Salt Traders.
I had some at Clark's the other day, which are great. I don't know if I mentioned that last week. You know, Clark's, you always feel like you're getting away with something when you can walk in there and get a seat at the bar, because that's one of the hardest tables to get, at least if you go on Open Table or Resi or whatever they have, you know, which is a good reminder that you can go on the website and see that no tables are available for 2 weeks at certain restaurants, but you can also just show up at a restaurant and oftentimes still get seated after a wait or after a drink. So, you know, a reminder to folks that just because you can't get a reservation on Open Table or Resi doesn't mean you can't still show up at a restaurant the old-fashioned way and try and get a table.
Brian, I don't know if you are a scallop guy. So is there
I would say that
turn to for scallops?
Man, I haven't had scallops in a long time. I don't have. I mean, I'm going to be following Matthew's lead to find scallops. I haven't. I think I fell out of love with scallops when I was managing at Fino.
Don't tell us any gross stories.
No, I just mean that the cost of them, the U10s, like they just kept going up in price. It was so hard, the perceived value's low as a dish. Like you put three scallops on a plate, you got to charge, $24 for them. People complain because they want more food. And it's like, yeah, but you don't understand. They just don't have the same perceived value that some other seafood dishes have, right? And so it's like you want people to get full, you want people to feel like, they're getting their money's worth. And scallops was always a challenge. And so you always kind of had to dress them up, oftentimes with a really nice set that was rich in flavor and other things that worked. It was just a challenge to do that in a, kind of mid-tier restaurant, right? It really feels like you've either got to go casual with it and offset the cost of the scallops with, your popcorn shrimp basket or whatever it is, or you got to go high end with it and make it part of a tasting menu. But it's good to know that there's some more casual places to get it around town, and I'll put it on my list to check out and report back.
I've got one additional spot to add for somebody looking for a good, unique scallop dish. That is at Tomodachi Sushi over off of Parmer. Oh gosh, what direction is Parmer heading from Mopac there? I think it's just west
West.
of Mopac. One, it's an underrated sushi spot in my opinion. They have a phenomenal specials board, and when the scallop is on the special board, get it sashimi style, and they do it Tomodachi style, where they put this pickled wasabi on there, and I think a black truffle oil too. It is legitimately one of my favorite things to eat in the city. My wife and kids love it too. We normally have to get two, which does set us back a little bit in the pocketbook, but it is well worth it in my opinion. So if you're looking for maybe something a little bit different, scallop style, it is raw, of course, being at a sushi place, but that's another really good spot
That's
to scallop.
it's up by my casa. I need to go check that place out. We end up seafood wise, we end up at Garbo's. They're a client, full disclosure. I work with them, and the kids love. My son's addicted to their burger, which is actually quite good for a seafood place. But I'm always getting the three lobster rolls at Garbo's. They do three mini rolls for like $32, and it's perfect. You get some kettle cooked chips and a nice little navy grog, one of my favorite cocktails they do. And so yeah, I always end up at Garbo's normally, and I don't think Garbo's has been doing scallops. I think I told them to stop doing scallops a while ago, just because again, it's hard to hit your food cost, and maybe as a special on the weekends at places like that, but to have it as a standard menu item you gotta have the demand for it, and then you gotta really execute on it. They do take skill to crank out consistently well. So I'm glad Matthew's out there doing the research. Speaking of
Yeah,
Father's
I'm
Day,
doing the hard work. Doing the hard work for Austinites.
doing the Lord's work. Yeah, that's right. But speaking of Father's Day, guys, we've got the U.S. Open. I saw our friends at Cricket are doing an event. Their shirts are featured in the new Owen Wilson show Stick, and there's a Butler pitch and putt event this Sunday for Father's Day. I may go check that out. I don't know. It's a good weekend to be a dad. Finally, we get our time.
Did you see Rick Riley's bent out of shape about the Owen Wilson comedy being a little bit too close to a book he put out a number of years ago? I never know whether to take Rick Riley seriously on a charge or just assume that he's become a curmudgeon in his older years who is just looking for credit where credit isn't necessarily.
Well, I was thinking about this because I saw the trailer for Happy Gilmore 2, and then I did watch the first three episodes of Stick. Golf comedy, that milieu, like it's hard to tell a new golf story, right? It's like I've seen charges that it's like, oh, this is like Ted Lasso because he's coaching a kid and he's divorced. It's like, I mean, I don't know that there are many golf stories to be told. I think it's more just about a few golf jokes here and there that maybe enter into the zeitgeist, and you chalk it up as a win. Um, this show goes along with everything else. Post COVID golf, everybody gets into golf. Everybody starts to like the sport. Disposable income demographic. Everybody's trying to sell to golfers. I'm a huge proponent of shrinking the game. I want less golfers. We don't need to be, it's like I need more tee times available to golfers that really want to play. Like I don't need any casual golf fans. Like y'all are good.
Well, I guess I'm out then.
Sorry, Trey.
Sorry, Trey.
I'm
Sorry,
actually
not
okay
sorry.
with that too, by the way. If I never play golf again, I will not lose any sleep over that.
No, I mean I'm being sarcastic at but yeah, I haven't heard the Rick Riley thing, but I have heard, the show's getting mixed opinions, but I love Owen Wilson. I love the Wilson brothers because
Yeah.
I was in high school. I went to an arts festival in high school and saw they were there screening Bottle Rocket. So I saw like a first cut of Bottle Rocket before it was out, and I was like, and that was with Wes Anderson, and I was like, these guys are funny. They're awesome. They filmed some of it at St. Mark's in Dallas, where the festival was, and so always
Wait,
been a fan of
did
those
you-
guys,
did
and
you
I'll
say
watch
you
them do
were-
anything.
Did you
just
say you
'cause.
were? Did you say you were with Wes Anderson?
Yeah, Wes Anderson, Luke, and Owen Wilson were at the screener. It was
Oh,
like it was just like in a little auditorium at St. Mark's, and they, I mean, I think there was maybe 15, 20 people, and they were showing one of their first cuts of Bottle Rocket, and then so I knew it was coming out. I kept an eye on it, made sure to watch it, go find it in a theater, which was a challenge in late '90s Oklahoma, but did find it, watched it, and kind of became a fan since then. So. Like I said, anything the Wilson brothers do, I'm going to watch, just because I like them, and I think that they are usually pretty funny. So there is a good scene early in this show, Odam, that I think you'll like. Like
Nope.
he's divorced. He's living in a house, and he finds some old wacky tobacco, and it's basically like this whole montage of him kind of going through his golf closet gear. It's pretty funny. I maybe I could relate. I don't know, but it was it's a fun show. Anyways, and again, I was most excited because our boys Cricket are in there. Their logo's in there. I think he wears some Cricket shirts in a few of the episodes. So I was always happy to see an Austin brand represented on in the big time.
Just the best part of the show.
Matthew.
Probably. I mean, their shirts are usually the best of whatever they're involved in.
Matthew, you've talked with a lot of people over the years, not just in the culinary world, but elsewhere. You told your Bill Murray story previously. Have you ever spoken with Wes Anderson, considering he does have ties to this city? Not that he's back here a lot anymore.
Wes is probably the only major Texas filmmaker I've never met or spoken to. Interesting for you to say that. Our paths have never crossed, but I'd love to speak with him. Houston guy, grew up in Houston, as did I, after being born in Austin. I know he's got a new one coming out, so maybe our paths will cross at some point. Definitely a high caliber, obsessive compulsive artist with an incredible visual style.
Yeah, there's a new interview, or it's not really an interview. It's him sitting down and talking about all his different films that he's made up to this point. Fantastic. I may have to link it through my Twitter account or Instagram or something after we're done here. Really interesting, getting his thoughts on all these different movies, starting with Bottle Rocket, of course, moving through Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, Life Aquatic, and all the rest up to right now. I'm about halfway through it right now, but it's provided a ton of really interesting insight on just what has gone into him making so many different types of movies over time, but also maintaining a sort of Wes Anderson style through all of that without deliberately trying to do so. He just says he goes out and tries to make what he thinks would look good. And of course, he's created his own genre in that time too.
He's the MML of Texas filmmakers. if you want a culinary reference.
Hey, Brian, I'm glad you mentioned that it's Father's Day this Sunday. I did want to ask you guys this before our end of show restaurant food consumable recs for this week. What do you guys love about being dads? You're both the father of two. What do you love about that whole process? Matthew?
It's the best. it's the only thing I really care about. It definitely brings out the best in you, and doesn't necessarily bring out the worst in you, but it highlights, as a friend of mine once said, it lowers the water level in the river, meaning all the stones that are in the river that you might not otherwise see become apparent and will bump the boat. So it's been very revealing for me, made me a much better person in terms of recognizing the things that cause me problems, whether it's patience or selflessness or being organized, and it highlights and makes me grateful for all of my strengths and all of the things that my parents imbued in me, which is playfulness and love and selflessness. So there's nothing like it. But I would never recommend anybody tread into it lightly. If you think you probably don't want kids, go with that instinct, because it is 5,000 times harder than anything I could have ever imagined doing.
Brian, what about you?
It's interesting that Matthew touches on the stones in the river metaphor, because yesterday I had a moment with my son. He had he had to wear my river shoes, and they fell apart downriver. He was with a bunch of other kids, and the rocks were a little jagged. He wasn't very happy with it. He was kind of upset. He had to go to the riverbank and walk back through stickers barefoot. And when he got back to camp, he was just very, very upset. And as a dad, it was interesting because my wife had one reaction and I had another. And I shifted into, hey, we got to keep you in this river. Like, we're not going home. We're not ejecting here. And I was like, sat next to him, held his hand. I was like, dude, it's all right, man. I was like, when he left, my concern was that the shoe was going to come off and he was going to lose the shoe and get upset about losing it. Instead, it was a little bit more painful of an experience. I was like, you'll be all right. I was like, put your feet back in the river. You'll be fine. And then I go upstream a little bit to do some rapids with my daughter. And she's kind of, she's definitely a little bit tougher than he is. So she's just, in it to win it. She's got the two other little girls and she's carrying the tube and showing them how to jump down the rapids. And fun to see her be a leader and somebody that, her friends can rely on. And I come back and it was so awesome because we're here with a couple other families, and Jason, the other dad, they were building cairns, like the rock formation, like stacking rocks on each other in the river.
Oh,
and
not
the boys
not middle-aged white women who have problems with everything out in public.
No,
okay.
I think it's CARIN, but they built these two beautiful, rock statues that were standing up and balanced in the river, and the pride on the boys' faces, for doing it. And Jack was back involved. And it was just one of those moments where it's like, it's like, yeah, it's like you get to comfort them when they need the comfort. At the same time, you get to kind of push them and say, hey, no, there are things that can happen after a bad experience that are worth staying committed to. So, and as Matthew said, we all need that reminder ourselves most times. So it was a good reminder for me that sometimes I need to keep my feet in the water and look for the next task instead of bailing out, going home and doom scrolling.
Yeah, there is an allure to that too, but hopefully we find the effort to put those screens down, to spend more time with the family. We played Life last night, the board game, and had a lot of fun doing so. There's all sorts of Uno offshoots now. We started to play some more of that now that we're to the summertime and we don't have such hard and fast bedtimes to get them up early for school the next day. It's those little moments. Of course, there's big moments too, but it's those little moments of just enjoying one another's company. And as we all understand, and I think there's research out there now that 90 to 95% of the time that you spend with your kids is the time spent all the way up to the age of 18, where they leave the house and go to college and go do something else. And then the timing is pretty sporadic after that. So make sure to cherish those moments now while you can. And having kids is not only taught me a lot about parenting, it's taught me a lot about myself. There's things that I see in my kids that I don't think I ever truly realized or came to terms with about myself, both good and bad, by the way. And so I've been forced to look a little bit more inward and better understanding myself to try and be a better parent for my kids too. All right, guys, we're to the end of the show now. Happy Father's Day to all you dads, and happy Father's Day to the partners of you moms who are listening right now. Hopefully you have good dads, good strong father figures in your life. Guys, what are our recommendations for this week? Food, beverage, restaurant, otherwise. Starting with you, Brian.
Well, I haven't been doing my due diligence. I haven't been out there eating and drinking the way that I should. So I'm going to take this opportunity to go ahead, throw the horns up for peace. Congratulations to Texas softball on finally getting a title. 6 more, and we can start to have a real conversation about softball greatness. But it was good to see Coach White and the Lady Longhorns win something in Oklahoma City. I'm sure I know how hard it is to play in Oklahoma City. I know how difficult that was for them to overcome. So kudos to Texas softball for taking care of business.
Imagine how hard it is to live there.
And we will see you next season. Gasso and the girls are not going anywhere. And we now have a 6 title head start. So come on, we'd love to have some competition. I'm glad it looks like the Longhorns are finally capable of playing at our level.
Well, I'll stick to the topic instead of being petty. What did I have to eat this past week? Moreno Barbecue down in South Austin is one of South Austin's more popular barbecue spots. I had their smash burger. They make some really good burgers there, and they're so good, in fact, that Moreno Burger Company is going to take over the Moreno barbecue space, and Moreno Barbecue from Bo Moreno is going to move down south in a couple months to the old Green Mesquite location at South Park Meadows, and he's going to convert his current space near Stastny and Manchac to Moreno Burger Company. So people that love Moreno burgers will now have a restaurant solely dedicated to those. That's the turf side. On the surf side, I had a really great tuna crudo dish at Monger's on Guadalupe near Hyde Park, dolloped with a little bit of uni on top. Celebrated my wife's birthday there. She's from North Carolina, loves seafood, so we hit up Monger's for quite a few things and had a great experience there. So Moreno Burgers down south and Monger's in Central Austin.
All right, I mentioned the scallop sashimi.
I was going to say, let's get the king on.
What's that?
What?
Say that again.
Well, I was going to say, let's go ahead and throw out the fish concert is on the way, and Matthew ate some crudo. So everybody drink a few more times before we sign off. Sorry, Trey.
All right, I guess I'm gonna have to give some love to the stuffed goose. No, I don't have any stuffed goose recommendations to try and fuel that fire between the two of you. No, I mentioned the sashimi scallops at Tomo a little bit earlier. That's probably my primary recommendation this week, but a couple of other things I want to give a shout out to. We're about to get a taco deli here in Cedar Park. Holy freaking cow, are we excited about that? It's a 5-minute drive from our house. So yay, really good breakfast tacos in Cedar Park coming up here pretty soon. But also, I want to give some love to the meat counter at Central Market, the North Central Market. I can't speak to the South Central Market having something similar going on, but they have the best tomahawk pork chops in this meat counter. They're consistent most weeks. They make some exceptions during the holidays. They don't do them as much. They do the that French cut to strip what, in my opinion, is the best part of the tomahawk pork chop, the fatty part going along that rib away. But man, the tomahawk pork chops at Central Market are so good and pretty fairly priced too, especially when you're looking at some of the other really nice cuts of meat in that meat counter. So the tomahawk pork chop and the scallop dish at Tomo Sushi are my recs this week, while also celebrating a taco deli coming to Cedar Park in the not too distant future. And with that, we are through another Thursday Supper Club. Guys, thank you as always for the time.
Welcome.
Hey, Matthew, thanks for powering through today. We appreciate you being here.
The allergy struggle is real in this rain, guys. Keep me in your thoughts.
T and P's, baby. T and P's.